entertaining, consistently supportive, and occasionally extremely irritating, but there's no denying the importance of a really good sidekick. So for today's episode of The Gist, I've decided to go over 5 of my all-time favorites. My first choice is kind of a contentious one, since while the little blue fairy certainly has her fans, she has pissed off a lot of the gaming community by screaming hey and then subsequently demanding that you listen. But here's why I reckon you should give Nobby a chance. Okay, so you can't get from one end of Hyrule Field to the other without a shrill intrusion, but the second you crack into a combat scenario or need to chuck your boomerang at a specific point, the Nobby-assisted Z targeting system is your very best friend. Besides that helpful addition, she's more than happy to drop the one weakness of the gigantic Queen Goma beastie residing in the Deku tree, and that of any other less than friendly beastie you encounter. Nobby does more than just throw you med packs or say she's got a bad feeling about something. She's a guide, your main combat asset, and stops you being that weird boy without a fairy that everybody else in the forest makes fun of. The Mass Effect series could pretty much fill out its own top 5 sidekicks show between Warden's singing and Garrus's incessant calibrations, but my favorite also happens to be one of the only proper action figures that I own, Tali. A serious contender for companion most worthy of romancing after Liara, Tali is the toughest, strong-minded Quarian mech that you'll ever come into contact with. You know, because that's a long list. Between heartbreaking tribulations with her own people to watching her get drunk through her emergency induction port, not only is her backstory solid, but she's extremely handy with a shotgun.
I'm having a drink with my boyfriend. My human boyfriend. My father would have hated you.
If you've got a soft spot for Tali like I do, I would definitely recommend not watching the scene where you can accidentally cause her death. You will have a bad time. If the word meatbags lives somewhere within your vocabulary, then chances are you decided to drop by Tatooine during your Knights of the Old Republic playthrough to pick up assassin droid HK-47. HK is not the most complimentary of droids and has a tendency to be generally snide, but he is fiercely loyal to his masters. That is, until they mostly meet their untimely demise. He was programmed to see all organics as meatbags and doesn't have a whole lot of regard for human life. Regardless of this, HK's tendency to begin remarks with speech conditionals that describe the kind of statement he's about to make and his proud, charismatic nature make him a sidekick whose dialogue you rarely want to skip through.
Here I am, surrounded by all these meatbags, and all I desire is true perfection.
The second Knights of the Old Republic game asks the player to reassemble HK using several different components, and trust me, it's well worth the effort. Staying off the humanoid track, next up we have a bird who spent most of his life locked in a pirate chest to then head off with an art student to save the twin worlds from peril. Yeah, it's complicated. The Longest Journey tells the story of April Ryan, who finds herself, as so many young people do, faced with the duty of saving the world and a whole other parallel version. Though she wouldn't have got very far without Crow sailing through the sky outside a floating warlock castle or pecking bird feces off of an ancient dragon statue. Her fine feathered friend is charismatic, sarcastic, and kind of a womanizer.
I ain't stopping until I can spot those cute chicks from miles and miles away.
Like so many of these examples, Crow is one of those sidekicks that goes beyond just being a support character and becomes a proper companion. As illustrated by my Twitter and Facebook backgrounds, one of my favorite all-time sidekicks is the strong, loving, silent type, the Weighted Companion Cube. Here's the thing about the Weighted Companion Cube. It dies, like a lot, and you spend most of the game giving it terrible long-standing abandonment issues as a result of leaving it behind every time you progress to a new chamber. Whether it actually gives a crap about you or it's just the misleading hearts painted on its faces is hard to say, but where there's a cube switch to be filled, this sidekick is at the ready. Nonetheless, I think I have to side with GLaDOS on the fact that the little cube cannot speak, and if it does, its advice should be disregarded. So those are some of my favorites, but be sure to let me know in the comments down below or on my Twitter where I'm at Jess McDonald who your favorite sidekicks might be. I'll be back next week with another wrap up of a gaming feature, but until then, try to go easy on Nobby.